Hey everybody, I'm not great, and this is not a video where I play video games, even though I've got a video game going. Don't be fooled. This is, I haven't done one of these in a while. Oh man, it has been a long time. But, I wanted to chat a little bit about something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. And that is, the reaction to the actions of Luigi Mangione and that guy that he killed, who was the CEO of United Healthcare. I don't know the CEO's name. It's Tyler something, I think. And I don't care. I'm not going to talk about him and what he did specifically. I want to talk about how people are viewing what he did. As there are a lot of people who are very excited about the murder of the CEO of a health insurance company. And there are a lot of people who are also very unexcited about the idea of celebrating the death of another human being, or making the murderer out to be a hero. And there's a lot of complicated shit going on, like regarding all of those feelings and thoughts and facts and stories and everything under the sun. And I wanted to opine for a moment. So if you'll forgive me, I will opine. What you have is a situation where somebody did something terrible and not terrible at the same time. The terrible part is, murder. That's pretty easy to quantify as like a terrible thing that you should not encourage people to do or want them to do. Most of us feel that the taking of another person's life is kind of, to be avoided and not to be lauded. And as far as I know, they're right. And you really shouldn't stand by and go, hell yeah, that guy's dead. But at the same time, the person who is dead is responsible for the deaths of possibly millions of people. The suffering of millions upon millions more. At a company where they allegedly is in heavy air quotes there, where they allegedly let an AI bot play a factor in denying people's claims. These are claims that people have paid into the insurance scam. Because insurance is bullshit. Like, there's no reason to have it. There's no reason to have it. Not in today's world. They paid into this, and the people that they're paying, allegedly, to help them out if they're ever in a medical emergency, are saying, no, go die. We'll take your money, and we'll let you die, and there's always somebody else who can pay us money after the fact. Or hell, they'll even get paid if you die. Well, they don't lose money. I don't know. It's business math, and it doesn't make any damn sense. What I've been considering lately, and thinking about it, is why people are so excited. Why the people who are excited at the death of this CEO. The majority of them, I would say the vast majority of them, are not inclined to celebrate murder as a general rule, let's say. If a random man had shot another random man on a street in New York and then disappeared for 6 days, and only to be apprehended at a McDonald's a state or two away. Without context, that's something that would make people upset and afraid and worried. But with the context, obviously, things are different. And I have a theory about that. Now, I have a degree in theater. I am a journeyman electrician who has a fine arts degree. I know a little something about stories. Like, my degree focused on the technical aspect of stage work, particularly lighting. Like, I'm not a great carpenter. I get by fairly well in AV stuff, but it's the act and art of the hang and the focus and even some lighting design thing. Yeah, those were my things. But, you know, you go to school for something, you don't just learn about your specialty. You learn a little bit about everything in your field of study. And the way that I see things, I kind of see what happened with Luigi and CEO fucker. I still don't care, but he's a piece of shit. He's an awful, awful human being. I don't need to remember his name. I see what happened and the reason that people are excited. I see it as kind of an inciting incident. Now, if you're not familiar with that particular term, whenever you're building a story, every story has an anatomy. You have exposition, that tells you the background. You have the inciting incident, which is the beginning of a conflict. You have the rising action, which is the conflict building. You have the climax, which is the conflict coming to a head. You have the falling action, which is things wrapping up. And then you have the end. You have the epilogue. You have the... yeah. It's over. And I think the reason that people are so excited, despite themselves, people who normally would look at a murder and go, oh no, a murder, that's bad, is because this can be seen as kind of an inciting incident. We've been going through decades of exposition of people like this CEO having an inordinate amount of power, not just over people's finances, but over whether they live or die. And something happened, an inciting incident, to disrupt the status quo. To put the possibility of change on the field, and whether that change is characters in the insurance industry deciding to grow a conscience and maybe not be awful bastards. Probably not. Whether that change is more violence and conflict could be argued. Whatever the change is, it is a change from what has been established. And what has been established is companies like this holding your life and the life of the people that you care about hostage. It is mandatory to pay these people money to live. Because without that, you can't afford to live if something happens. If you get sick, if you get injured. The sad reality is, with it, you can't afford to live if you get sick or injured, unless you've already got a pretty solid standing to build off of. The number of people with health insurance who end up going into debt for health-related reasons is shameful. Astonishingly shameful. So I think, in my opinion, people aren't excited that this guy is dead. They're excited because incidents like this, inciting incidents that incite change, maybe give them a little bit of hope that things can change and maybe become better. And yeah, sure, like the thing that had to happen was a guy had to be murdered, and a guy named Luigi allegedly did it. I don't think anybody is seriously questioning that there was a person who murdered another person. And I don't think anybody is seriously celebrating the death of another person. Not as a person, anyways. But I think that they're celebrating the potential for change. And change is something that we desperately need in the United States. Like, there's a reason that one of our former presidents ran on change as a slogan and did incredibly well in his election. And it's because that's what people need. Because the way things are right now is not sustainable. I mean, we're moving into a period of time in the United States where everything that defines our country as a country is up in the air. The incoming president is already working to manufacture a constitutional crisis that theoretically, very realistically, could end in the dissolution of Congress, an entire branch of government. Like the wording of the processes that he is planning to use and exploit, that's a very real possibility. Now, is he smart enough to do that? I doubt it. But you don't have to be smart to abuse a system. You just have to do it and get away with it. And there's plenty of people that'll let him get away with it. And by extension, we've got a guy who was shot in New York who's been getting away with stuff for a very long time. Yeah, sure, he'd only been the CEO of this insurance company for 3 years. The industry as a whole has been abusing people for much, much longer than that. I guess all this is to say that I don't want to say that it's okay to be happy that somebody is dead. What I do want to say is that with a little understanding, we can talk to people who do believe that, or who outwardly present as possibly believing that. And realize that deep down, when you get to the heart of things, it's not the death or the murder that people are rallying behind. Instead, it's the potential for change in a system that is so entrenched in power and money and resources that nothing but the most drastic acts could ever hope to disrupt that system. Those are my thoughts. Now, there's a lot more to this. There's so many more layers to this whole situation. But I think this is a layer of it. And it's one that should be considered. And moreover, it's one that should definitely be factored in, as you're going to see more and more people with bad agendas and bad faith saying untrue or twisted things about what happened. They're going to be making up their own stories to try to paint other people in a bad light. And, you know, there's evidence for that. There's lots of people who are actively celebrating. But I don't think they're celebrating what you think they're celebrating. But I also don't think that they entirely understand that they're not celebrating what you think they're celebrating. I think that people are inherently bad at understanding themselves. And especially in this case, they look for the simplest solution, the simplest definitions of their feelings and the feelings of the people around them. And it's not the way to look at it. You can't take a complicated thing and break it down into its key components and then pick one of those components and say this is the whole thing. So, you know, something to think about. Lots of things to think about. there are philosophical questions and points of introspection here that most people are never going to get to. And the people that do are probably going to remain largely unheard and unappreciated. But at the very least, this can be one thing to consider. Like, if you are trying to make the story of this event on a national scale in your head, remember that people are hurt. They've been hurt. They're still being hurt. Hell, in my family, we have health problems that, not just health problems, but things that involve the medical field, the medical community at large, health insurance, that are constantly threatening to completely unravel us and endanger everything. Literally everything. And we're not the only ones. And people like Luigi Mangione, because there's lots of them. Everybody has a limit, especially if you are living in constant pain with the feeling of being eternally abused by somebody who's supposed to make things better, but that you know isn't. That's what I got. I had to get it off my mind, off my chest, out into the ether, and I'll be doing that. So, thanks for listening. You want to make a statement? You know, comments are open. Happy to talk about things. Just, you know, no Nazi shit. Anyways, I'll see you in the Let's Plays. And do hope you have a good one. Stay safe and healthy out there.